for Off the Block. I'm Vinny Lipson. We are now joined by Penn State men's volleyball head coach Mark Pavlik as his team is preparing to play Hawaii in the NCAA tournament play-in match on Tuesday. And Coach, you've had about a week now to start preparing for the match. What are your initial impressions about Hawaii?
Well, I think anytime you play a Charlie Wade coach team, you got to expect them to come out hard. No matter where they're playing, at home or on the road. We've played them enough over the past 10 years or so that we know what kind of aggressiveness we're getting into. And just looking at that, I just think the center is doing a real nice job this year. He's just continued on his development. We're Capono, Faye keeps them in the system. Tualeta, just a great libero with that. It's going to be a challenge. I think that we've got to be prepared to play at a high level for a long period of time.
Yeah, well, I want to ask you about one of their players in particular, Stein Van Tilburg. He's been, third in the nation, almost averaging, it seems like 4.5 kills per game. Is he one of these players that you guys really have to start scheming around and making sure that you got three guys in front of him at all times?
Well, I don't think we're going to try to do too much more than we've done all year. I don't think we're going to change systems. I think we got to still put ourselves in a pretty good position for him regarding block and D. But you're right, he's somebody you have to account for. Let's not make it easier for him. We can't afford to lose him in transition and only give him one blocker to hit against, because he's shown all year long when you do that, he's going to put the ball away. So I think we want to make sure that he's got to work for his kills, and he will get them. He's that good of a player. But I think we're still going to try to do what we do.
Yeah. And Coach, we talked about Hawaii's offense, but I want to ask you about your defense, in particular the play of Matt Callaway. He's really seemed to elevate his game this year. Can you just talk about what he's been able to bring to the court, and especially the kind of that leadership presence that he has?
Yeah, you got a fifth-year senior who's been through the grind, and he's probably experienced everything there is to experience in a collegiate athlete's career. Starting, not starting, coming off the bench, being redshirted. So I think he's done a real nice job of kind of putting everything in the back of his mind and being able to call upon that experience when needed and share it with some of the young ones that he shared with over the past couple of years. And then on top of that, when you get somebody that's been on the court for as long as he has, I think he has really developed this year as probably being comfortable with the things he can do and the strengths that he brings to the game. I think he's been maybe one of the more underrated guys over the last month or so for us, because there's no real NCAA stat for slowing down attacks or for forcing hitters to change direction with their swing. And Matt does a real good job of understanding what's coming at him, and he also understands he's not going to get all of them. And I think sometimes with middle blockers, the frustration level can set in, and they try to do more than they're capable of. I think the last 4 weeks for us, Matt has just really played well within himself and knows what he can do, knows what are his strengths, and really works to maximize those.
Yeah. And Coach, I do want to ask, because you have a player like Matt, but you have a really young team overall, lots of freshmen, lots of sophomores. So I want to ask for you as a coach, how much does that change kind of your approach, even if it's just the little things and what you guys work on in practice when you have a younger team compared to a veteran team?
The beauty of the men's game is we have all fall to work that in, and certainly you adjust and you tweak during the season. But I think the bulk of work that you may be referring to, Vinny, is something that we take a look at in the fall and really try to make our youngsters understand the philosophy that we need to go with and what their role is in that philosophy, either offensively, defensively, serving. And I think there's not a whole lot that we have to change much during the season. During the season, it's just about getting them the experience that they need, because no matter what you do in the training gym, you can't ratchet it up to where you're looking across the net and you're seeing Miles Johnson serving at you, or you're trying to block somebody that's a Long Beach swing. Those things. All the coaching in the world can't get them ready for that until they've been through the ringer. And hopefully, if we do our jobs in the fall, it really only allows them to think about, okay, here's the experience, not what do I have to do here, but this is what I've got myself into. I'm figuring this out.
Coach, at the beginning of the season, you and I were at St. John's Arena. I was covering your first two matches of the season. And I just want to ask, from that time in January to now, what has been the biggest surprise about your team?
Probably their resiliency. Since that time till now, we've gone through a lot of different combinations on the court, and so we've lost significant playing time and or practice time with 16 out of our 17 guys on the roster. And I'm sure other teams have also fought off the injury bug and the sickness bug. But at the same time, we've had guys take steps up that maybe we didn't expect. And we had some of the youngsters step in and just, spot starts here and there that really, I'm sure when we get a chance to look back on the season, we'll say, as a pretty important contribution made by somebody that, if you would have asked me when you and I were sitting in St. John's Arena, do I expect them to do this? I probably not would have said, no, I don't expect it. I probably also would have said, geez, I hope not. So, but the resiliency of this team has been one that I've been very impressed with.
And Coach, I want to ask, because so much of this game is about serving and passing, and when you got players playing in big matches, especially the NCAA tournament, is there anything you do as a coach to make sure that, they aren't, too jacked up, before a match or before the match or anything, or during the match, and letting those NCAA tournament jitters get to them?
Yeah, I think there are going to be butterflies that are magnified a little bit more. I think what we've tried to do is we've tried to mitigate what the importance of this is. And I think you do that from the very beginning of the school year by talking about process, by talking about here's how we want to approach every day, here's how we want to approach every time we get on the court, whether it's just six guys getting together to play 3-on-3 in between classes, or whether it's a practice, or whether it's EIVA match on the road, or whether it's an NCAA national championship point serve. I think you just try to make sure that they understand, here's what you can control, here's what you can prepare for, here's everything that we try to spell out, here's everything that you need to understand what you can control and what you can't control. And and I think that's one of the biggest things with an NCAA tournament. It's so unlike any other tournament you're at, because it's so structured, and you have to be here at this time, and you can't touch the volleyballs until this time, and there are other people on the court saying, no, you can't do that yet. And you know how relaxed we are in the men's game when it comes to, oh yeah, let's just get on the court and play some short court. And I think that goes with your entire schedule. You have an itinerary that's handed to you. So the teams that I've found that just kind of embrace that and say, okay, tell us where you want to go. It's not a big deal, are generally the ones that handle all the pre-served butterflies in a much better manner.
And Coach, I want to ask you one broader question before I let you go. Last Saturday, you look at what was happening in college men's volleyball, especially with Pennsylvania schools. You and St. Francis were playing for a Conference Carolina championship. Penn State, Altoona, and Juniata were competing in the NCAA Tournament Division III. What did that mean for you as a Pennsylvania person, just seeing all those teams competing in big matches?
I think as coming up within the Pennsylvania volleyball community, there's certainly a sense of pride from the high school side of things here. Yeah, the club scene is good. It's important. I grant you all of that, but the Pennsylvania Volleyball High School people that have paid their dues and have made sure it's been going since 1933, I think are seeing that it's paying off. That you've got good kids in the state, but maybe more importantly, you have some pretty good high school coaches out there, and they're getting kids interested in the game, and through their high school programs, and maybe the club programs are being coached by some of them, and the appetite is being whet by the high school experience. And I think you look at the rosters on all those teams you mentioned, and the Pennsylvania kids are pretty proud of the high schools that they've come from, and how they've grown up in the sport. So I think it's just it's a great tribute to those that have made boys volleyball very important in this sport for all the years that we've had it. I think anytime you look at Penn State, Altoona, and Juniata, and certainly St. Francis and us, it's a nice showing that we've got Pennsylvania kids playing at the highest level of our